I was 32 when the call came, living a life so small I could fit it inside a single worn toolbox. I fixed heavy machines for a living, the kind that coughed diesel into the grey forests outside Seattle. My days were noise, metal, and long hours. My nights were a silent apartment over a closed-down laundromat, a place that smelled of detergent and loneliness. I told myself the quiet suited me. I told myself I didn't need anyone. Most lies sound like comfort at first. That Thursday night in November began like any other. Rain hammered the roof, the kind of steady tapping that made a man feel older than his years. I kicked my door shut and reached for a cold drink, already imagining the familiar routine of silence and sleep. The phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I nearly ignored it, but something tugged at me. A soft nudge in the chest, like a warning I couldn't name. "This is Ethan," I said. A tired woman spoke my name with urgency. "This is Ms. Delgado from Maple Ridge Elementary. You need to come pick up your daughter. School closed 20 minutes ago." For a second, the world tilted. My daughter. I nearly laughed from the shock. "You have the wrong man," I told her. "I don't have kids." She didn't argue. She simply repeated the name. Lily Harper, age 5. Listed father, Ethan James Harper. This number. This address. "She's crying, sir." Then she hung up, leaving me in a sudden stillness, so sharp it hurt. I stood there holding the phone like it might explain itself. A heaviness stirred under my ribs. Lily Harper. The name felt like a door creaking open to a room I'd locked a long time ago. But logic screamed it was a mistake. A mix-up. Identity theft. Something other than what her trembling voice hinted at, but a child was crying. And she had my name. I grabbed my keys and ran into the rain. The drive south toward Mount Rainier was a long ribbon of wet asphalt and dark forest pressing against the highway. I didn't play the radio. My thoughts were loud enough. Every mile increased the pressure in my chest until it felt like someone was slowly twisting a wrench inside me. When I pulled under the school's portico, a single light glowed above the entrance. A woman stood there holding the hand of a little girl in a purple raincoat. The coat swallowed her tiny frame. She looked up when I stepped out of the truck, and my breath locked inside me, her eyes. That shape. That stubborn curve of the chin. I had seen them 100 times in childhood photographs. They belonged to one person, my younger sister, Claire. The little sister I lost years ago, when she disappeared from our lives. This girl was a mirror of her, 5 years old and staring at me with both fear and hope. The teacher pressed a clipboard into my hands. "Sign here." Her voice was firm but tired. "She hasn't eaten since lunch. Her backpack is inside." I couldn't form words. My throat was too tight. I just held the small, cold hand she offered me. I in the truck. She buckled herself with practiced movements. She kept her face forward, but her voice trembled. "Are you really my daddy?" Something inside me cracked. Not a sharp break. A slow, painful splitting of regrets and memories I had buried. "I'm your Uncle Ethan, kiddo," I managed. "But I'm here now. I'll figure this out." The address in her paperwork led to a trailer park that looked forgotten by the world. Rusted roofs. Flickering lights. Silence except for distant barking. My heart sank deeper with every step toward the dented door of number 14. The door stood slightly open. I pushed it wider and froze. The smell of damp, mold, and neglect weighed in the air. The room was dim, cluttered, and still. My flashlight landed on a figure lying near an overturned couch. Claire. My knees nearly gave out. My sister, once vibrant and stubborn as a wildfire, lay curled on the floor, fragile as a fallen leaf. Her cheeks were hollow, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. When I touched her wrist, tears blurred my vision. Not from shock, but from a guilt I had carried quietly for years. Lily ran to her mother, whispering "wake up" in a voice that broke something deep in me. I lifted Claire into my arms. She felt impossibly light, as if life had been slipping away piece by piece. Lily followed with a tiny stuffed rabbit pressed to her chest, eyes wide with fear. At the hospital, everything moved too fast and too slow all at once. Bright lights, quick voices, forms, questions. Lily curled on a chair beside me, holding my jacket, fighting sleep. I watched through a glass pane as doctors worked. My breath fogged the window. My thoughts swirled with every moment I had not been there for my sister. Every phone call I didn't make. Every sign I ignored. Hours later, when Claire finally opened her eyes, she whispered my name like a memory too delicate to touch. I'm sorry, Ethan, she whispered. I put your name on her papers. You were the only person I trusted. Her voice cracked like thin ice. I took her hand carefully. I'm here now. Rest. You're safe. Little Lily climbed beside her mother, curling gently against her. Claire weakly traced circles on her daughter's back, tears slipping silently down her face. In the quiet hours that followed, the pieces of the story began to surface. Her strength, her fear, her isolation, all wrapped in one trembling account. She spoke slowly, pausing often, as if each memory weighed more than her frail body could handle. She told me she listed my name not to deceive me, but because she believed I was the only one who would show up if everything went wrong. And it had gone wrong in every conceivable way. When I finally stepped out of her room to call our parents, my hands shook. I was hoping for comfort, for forgiveness, for unity. Instead, my father's cold voice cut through the line. We have no daughter by that name. Then silence. When the call ended, I realized something with stunning clarity. I leaned against the wall, breathing through the ache in my chest. My sister and her daughter had only me left now. In that moment, I felt something shift inside me, something that felt like purpose, heavy and fierce. I knew I would not fail them against. Morning came quietly, without permission, slipping through the thin curtains like a faded memory. I could still feel the chill from the night before settled deep in my bones. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was Hannah sitting on the edge of the bed, her fingers twisting the frayed hem of her sweater. She wasn't crying anymore, but the exhaustion on her face made my chest tighten. It was the kind of tiredness that didn't come from lack of sleep, it came from fear. Caleb, she whispered, as if speaking too loudly might break something fragile between us. We can't ignore it anymore. I didn't ask what it meant. We both knew the winter had been cruel. Fields frozen early, harvest ruined, debts rising like the river after a storm. But all of that felt small compared to our daughter's sudden illness, the fever that came in waves, the weakness stealing her laughter day by day. The doctors in Willow Creek did what they could, but they were limited, and the hospital in the next town wasn't cheap. We'll figure it out, I told her, though even as the words left my mouth, they tasted like lies. Still, I reached for her hand, the way I always did when the world seemed too heavy for either of us alone. We always have. She leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder, and for a moment, everything felt still. The storm inside us quieted enough for me to hear the faint breaths of our daughter sleeping in the next room. I wished I could carry her sickness myself, wished I could lift it out of her small body and bury it somewhere under the snow. But life doesn't work on wishes. It works on choices. By midday, I was outside chopping wood, something to keep my hands busy, something to keep my mind from unraveling. The axe rose and fell in a rhythm that matched my heartbeat, heavy, steady, desperate. Snowflakes drifted lazily around me, almost peaceful, mocking the chaos in my chest. I didn't hear my father approach until he cleared his throat. "You're working that log like it owes you money," he muttered, stuffing his hands into the pockets of his coat. He looked older than I remembered, whiter hair, slower steps, eyes softened by something that wasn't quite pity, but close enough to sting. "Morning," I said, though it barely sounded like a greeting. He watched me split another piece of wood before he spoke again. "Your mother told me about the hospital's estimate." "That's a lot, son." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The number was carved into my mind like a wound. My father stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You know I'd help you if I could." "I know." And I did. But they were barely getting by themselves. Silence stretched between us, filled only by the thud of the axe and the whisper of falling snow. Finally, he placed a hand on my shoulder, a rare gesture, one that carried the weight of everything he didn't say. "You're a good man, Caleb. The kind who carries the world on his back even when no one asks." His voice cracked. "Just don't let it destroy you." After he left, I sank onto the chopping block, elbows on my knees, breath hanging in the cold air. I didn't know how long I sat there. Long enough for my fingers to go numb. Long enough for my thoughts to circle the same impossible question: what if I can't save her? When I finally went back inside, Hannah was sitting beside our daughter's bed, humming a lullaby she used to sing when she was little. The room smelled faintly of peppermint oil and warm blankets. For a moment, the memory of better winters flickered through my mind: snowmen outside, hot cocoa inside, her tiny hands clutching mine as she begged to stay out just 5 more minutes. Our daughter stirred, eyelids fluttering open. "Daddy." Her voice was thin, fragile as cracked glass. I sat beside her and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I'm right here, sweetheart." "Can we still go to the winter parade?" she asked. "You promised." My heart clenched. The parade was 3 days away. People from town would gather, lanterns glowing, children laughing, music echoing through the streets. It had always been her favorite tradition. "We'll see," I said, forcing a smile. "If you feel better." She nodded, trusting me completely, too completely. Children believe their parents can fix anything. I wished she was right. Later that evening, after she fell asleep again, Hannah and I sat at the kitchen table. The only light came from a small oil lamp, casting shadows that made the room look lonelier than usual. "There's something I need to tell you," Hannah said quietly. My heartbeat stumbled. What is it? She took a deep breath. The clinic in Ashford called back. They reviewed her tests. They think it might be early-stage autoimmune complications. They want to start treatment immediately. My stomach dropped. How much? She slid a paper toward me. My eyes scanned the numbers, and for a moment, the world tilted. It was more than everything we had in savings. More than the worth of the truck. More than the farm had made in the last 2 seasons. Hannah, my voice broke. We can't, we have to. Her eyes filled with tears she fought to hold back. Caleb, this is our little girl. The weight of those words crushed something inside me. I reached across the table and took her hands. We'll find a way, I whispered, though I had no idea how. I don't care if I have to work day and night. I don't care if every bone in my body freezes this winter. I will not lose her. For the first time that day, she let herself cry. I pulled her into my arms, holding her like she was the last warm thing in the world. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Winter didn't care about our struggles, it never had. But as I held my wife, as our daughter slept in the next room, I made a promise to myself, one that burned hotter than the cold around us. No matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice, that I would save her, even if it broke me.